Take a look at this video. Is this not sheer madness? Russian tanks, armored personnel carriers, and soldiers are seemingly on a suicide mission against the Ukrainian defense. Today, we're going to dive into this madness and try to answer the question, what's wrong with the Russian army? It all starts with the insane attacks of Russian armored groups. The crew of this tank doesn't realize it's walked into a trap. Not only are Ukrainian soldiers to the left of the tank, but there are also surprises laid out on the road ahead. By the way, a Ukrainian soldier missed the tank with an anti-tank guided missile, but the mines saved the day. The second tank, not wanting to meet the same fate as its comrades, starts to reverse. The chances of escaping the battlefield seem slim, but they try anyway. The second Russian tank also explodes on the mines. The attack is a failure. Looks like another armored group. The first tank, equipped with a mine plow, leads the way, and for good reason. It hits the mines and stops. The Russians realize they can't go any further and start to reverse, but then they hit more mines. Another explosion. The second Russian tank is destroyed. With everything at stake, the Russians decide to break through. A fatal error. I will show the end of these Russians' story in the video for the sponsors. Russian APCs with infantry move in for the assault. The Ukrainians have prepared several surprises for them, and here's the first surprise. The second APC makes an unforgivable mistake. It stops. A Ukrainian kamikaze drone strikes it. A Russian IFV speeds away from the battlefield where it just got hit. Such haste leads to fatal consequences. Mines stop the armored personnel carrier, and the crew faces a grim fate. In these frames, Ukrainians finish off a previously halted Russian tank. A powerful explosion. No chance. I wonder what these Russians were discussing. The Ukrainians release a birdie with explosives. It hits the armored personnel carrier. The explosion easily tears it apart and scatters pieces of armor. A powerful blast. And how about this beauty? A kamikaze drone strikes an abandoned Russian armored personnel carrier. The damage causes a fire, and then an explosion. Beautiful footage of burning Russian junk. Here's another piece of Russian junk. The drone flies right inside. The fire does its job. When the drone returned, it found this. And who do we have here? This drone perfectly flies into the armored personnel carrier, and then it's the same old story. This Russian T-90M breakthrough tank couldn't handle a Ukrainian kamikaze drone. After the hit, the tank crew loses control. It drives out into the field and stops. The frightened crew leave the ruined tank. And here's another Russian tank. The operator perfectly executes the task and destroys the tank. There's another target nearby, also a tank. Watch how beautifully it explodes after the drone's hit. Another example. 2 Russian tanks were stopped by Ukrainian warriors. Ukrainians used kamikaze drones to finish them off completely. A Russian MTLB brought ammunition to the Russian positions. A Ukrainian drone manages to hit the armored personnel carrier before the Russians could unload the ammunition. And this Russian tank kicks off the season by launching its turret into space. After an encounter with a Ukrainian FPV drone, the tank's turret flies dozens of meters into the sky. Not bad. Ukrainian reconnaissance discovered 2 Russian tanks. They are hidden in this forest. The first hit proves fatal for one of the Russian tanks. The tank is torn apart like a tin can. This Russian self-propelled artillery gun was precisely firing at Ukrainian positions and neglected safety. Ukrainians discovered it and sent a kamikaze drone. A perfect hit and a powerful explosion. And that's all that's left of it. The Russians set up a shelter under this tank, but the operators of kamikaze drones are so experienced that they can fly even into the smallest of openings, which is what happens in this case. For our channel sponsors, an uncensored video with unique footage has just been released. You can find the link in the description of this video and in the hint. This kamikaze drone circles around an MTLB abandoned by the Russians. The operator chooses the most favorable angle for the attack. He manages to land the drone right in the open hatch and destroys the Russian junk. In this place, a Russian tank hit mines and was immobilized, and then it awaited a quite obvious fate. Another Russian tank, and the same exact fate. Another one? Maybe it's time for us to create a ranking of the most beautiful destruction of Russian tanks by Ukrainian kamikaze drones. The legendary Buhanka and its adventures in Ukraine. Another one. It's so symbolic that it's standing near an Orthodox cross. And that's all. And here's a cargo truck and an armored car, Tiger. They both become easy prey for kamikaze drones. A Russian cargo truck brought ammunition to the positions, and the Ukrainians immediately destroyed it. What a pity. Here he is, the proper Russian. A Russian soldier, realizing he's being pursued by a Ukrainian drone, throws away his weapon. He pleads with the drone operator to spare his life. The Ukrainians show mercy. In the video for sponsors, there are dozens of examples of Russians who decided not to surrender. Link in the description and in the hint. A Ukrainian strike drone discovered an ammunition depot for the BM-21 Grad. Yes, don't be surprised. The Russians store them just like that. One grenade causes the ammunition to ignite, and the fire, in turn, leads to such beautiful explosions. This Russian is now realizing where he's ended up. Ukrainian drones are conducting real bombardments of fortifications. I wonder what motivates the Russians to endure all of this. Another episode. After the first grenade, the soldier decides to try to shoot down the drone just at the moment when a grenade was dropped on him. Another video for sponsors will be released midweek, so try not to miss it. What could be more beautiful than a video of finishing off a Russian tank? A precise hit in the open hatch, fiery pillars from the burning powder. The Russian tank is destroyed. Another Russian tank. The drone again hits the target precisely. This piece of Russian junk is also destroyed. The Russians are moving the 2S-19 Masta-S self-propelled howitzer into the forest to hide it from Ukrainian reconnaissance drones. The Ukrainians, however, see all of this. When the howitzer is securely hidden, the Ukrainians launch a HIMARS missile at it. The target is eliminated. These are the frames of the work of a Russian UAV team. A Ukrainian drone tracked a Russian reconnaissance drone and followed it to the command post. Then, the HIMARS took over. The OSA anti-aircraft missile system is moving towards the forest to hide from the Ukrainians. As you might have guessed, the Russians didn't succeed. The 240mm Russian monster 2S-4 Tulip. This mortar fires 300-kilogram high explosive mines. Or rather, it did until it was hit by HIMARS. Yes, this is the second Tulip. You can watch its operation against Ukrainian positions. It didn't last long, as a HIMARS fragmentation warhead quickly put an end to it. The explosion of such a warhead nearby shredded the self-propelled artillery and everything in the blast area. If you enjoyed today's episode and want me to keep making more, hit that like button and drop a comment down below.